Okay, I'm now speaking with Patricia Gresham. Miss Gresham, in looking over some information about you, I noticed that you grew up in Jackson, Michigan.
Born in Adrid, Michigan.
Okay.
My mother divorced my father. We moved to Jackson. And then she decided that Jackson was too fast. I was too fast for Jackson. So we came home, which is Niles. My mother was born in Niles. My mother was a Finley, F-I-N-D-L-E-Y. She came back home.
Where's your father from?
My father was born in Adrid, Michigan.
So what originally brought your mom's family to Niles?
That was Pascal LaRue's Finley. My mother's father was Finley, F-I-N-D-L-E-Y, but my grandparents were Finley, F-I-N-L-E-Y.
But different families?
Different families, but close. My cousin, who's in New Jersey, said if my mother was alive, she probably would turn over in her grave because she has now connected the families and they were like first cousins. Because Peter Finley was from Lima, Ohio, and Bill Finley was from Niles. My grandmother married Peter Finley, and they were first cousin. Mabel and Peter were married.
So it's F-I-N-L-E-Y.
And F-I-N-D-L-E-Y.
So how did D get in there?
Have no clue.
I do. I bet.
I bet.
Yeah, I bet that either the way they pronounced it,
yes,
or someone when one of your relatives had to say his name someplace and somebody wrote it down and they couldn't spell or they heard it a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
That happens all the time, and that's so. How did you discover that?
Well, my cousin is in New Jersey, and she's on the internet or whatever that thing is all the time. So she said that she found that because we have a lot of relation in Lima. The F-I-N-D-L-E-Y family is from Lima, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
So she's connected with Lima. And I've never seen anybody from Lima. Well, I think Norman was from Lima.
So so when they were in Lima, where did they come from before Lima?
Now that's a good question. I don't have any answer.
Well, I saw a lot of them came from Chillicothe.
Yeah, there you go. That's where they came from. I have forgot that.
So
I know. I remember my mother talked about that. Now my mother was the historian. I'm just here. I never thought I was going to be the historian because it's not my thing. But I'm getting into it now. My mother was the historian. My mother was the one that started this because we had family in Allegan that didn't know the family in Niles. So she decided to put it together.
Where's Allegan?
Allegan, Michigan.
How far is that from Niles?
About 75 miles up.
Okay.
And we have cousins. Now those were the F-I-N-D-L-E-Y's up there. Their father was Herman.
And that created a question that you all just had to just find the answer to.
My mother had to find the answer. That was the one thing that she wanted to make sure that everybody knew everybody, so that you didn't run into somebody and you met them and you'd find out they were your cousin. Ran into that a lot.
Now, have you found that this is almost, I don't say addictive, but when it pulls you in, I mean, obviously, once you got involved, the curiosity was so strong that it just kept you in there.
Yes. But see, she passed, because see, now Harold was the big historian, and he gave it over to me, I think. So I said that I would do it, but haven't been on the internet and all that stuff to find any. I just have the records that she had.
Now, let me ask you this here. Earlier you said something about your multicultural family.
Mm-hmm.
What is that, or how are you multicultural? What?
Well, just maybe the last 4 or 5 years, we found Harold's,
Now, Harold is the gentleman I just interviewed.
Yeah, just interviewed.
Okay.
Okay. Harold's son tracked down, there was a son that left Niles and went to Wisconsin. We hadn't seen any of his people for years. And they showed up one year at the family reunion. And they all were from Wisconsin, but they were all white. You and I could tell what they are.
But these are Harold's kids?
No, these were just family members. Harold's son, Darwin, got on a tree or whatever
and found
them in Wisconsin. And then they came down to the family reunion, and then we went to Wisconsin one time. But they haven't been back lately.
But that's rare, but not really rare.
No.
Because all families have that, and it's just rare that they come together, because you probably have a lot more cousins like that floating around here.
Right. Well, that's what Andre was saying, because my son works at the Y, and we had the reunion at the Y, and the girls told him that for years, the girls said that they were called niggers, but they never knew why.
Well, that's...
Ain't that hard?
In this whole journey of you finding out about your family, what is the importance behind that? I mean, what did you learn about the character or the attitudes or personalities of these people that impresses you today?
Well, I would say that not all of my cousins are loving toward us, but most of them are. I can remember a time that I would go to South Bend to a party, and I would run into a young man playing the piano. His name was Dennis Bradley, and he was real good. And I'd come home and I'd tell my mother, "Ooh, the fine man. Ooh, there was a fine man at this party. His name was Dennis Bradley." My mother would say, "Well, I think Art Bradley has some kids in South Bend." Oh, okay. So then we would meet the Bradley kids, and those were our cousins. And then we met the Graysons. The Graysons were, my girlfriend married a Grayson, and I found out he was my cousin. So I said, there's some Grayson boys that got twins. She said, "Well, I think Winnie married a Grayson." And I'm going, okay. I said, "Just can't win, can I?" And she'd laugh, and she'd say no. And so then we've all connected now. So when we go to the reunion, we have them there, well, if they're here in town, but sometimes they're not. But it's funny.
What do you say to people who say that history is boring, there's no relevance in it?
I tell them they just don't know. They just don't know how you can find your family and don't even know that they're there. They're right next door. Unless you know them, living in Niles, there was a lot of us all together, and we, knew everybody. We lived on Lake Street, which is the main street here in Niles, and we all knew who all lived on Lake Street. And then my aunt and her family lived on 5th Street. There was 5 kids of them, but I was an only child, so I spent a lot of time over there because I like being an only child. But it's fun because I'm an only child. I think that's why I connect to them. Because just like Lisa, her mother and I are really close because both of us are only children.
Well, and last thing, what do you see the relevance in us pulling not only these stories or these older families together, but involving young people in the interviewing processes?
I think it's great. I think because we've been doing this for a while. I've been up to the high school, and they've asked me how did I get along in Niles, Michigan? Because it hasn't changed much. It's changed a little bit, but not much. And I said, I remember being in a classroom and they all overlooked me, or they put me in the back with the boys, thinking that was keeping me from doing anything, but then the boys would talk to me. And then the woman would say, well, Patsy, you're not doing very good because you were supposed to be back there making them quiet. I said, okay, but I'm not doing that. So Niles has changed a little bit, not much.
But you stayed.
Yes. Well, I've got a choice now. I had a job here. Not in here. Well, yeah, I started working at Cedar Lane School, and then we moved to Berrien Springs, but I never wanted to move to Berrien Springs. My son graduated from here in '82. He is now a Y instructor of swimming at the YMCA here in Niles.